Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Intermediate Grammar. The member is Muhammad Taufik, Fenny Pramita, Jumailah, Septinia, Rossa, and Salsa. The material of our group, the first is gerund and infinitive. Second is active and passive voice, simple present tense. Active and passive voice, simple continuous tense. Active and passive voice, simple past tense. Active and passive voice, simple present perfect tense. And active and passive voice, modal tense. Before we are going to the material, I have some word. You can either experience the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The choice is yours. Alright, we are going to the first material. Will be presenting by me, and the first material is gerund and infinitive. Right, the first material is gerund and infinitive. Gerund. What are gerunds? A gerund is a verb in its ing or present participle form that function as a noun that names an activity rather than a person or thing. Any action verb can be made into a gerund. An infinitive. What are infinitives? An infinitive is a verb form that acts as other parts of speech in a sentence. It is formed with to plus base from the verb. Example, to buy and to work. The function and example of gerund. First, gerund can appear at the beginning of a sentence when used as a subject. Example, jogging is a hobby of mine. The second, gerund can act as an object following the verb. Example, Daniel quit smoking a year ago. Third, gerund can serve as an object after a preposition. The example, I look forward to helping you paint the house. Fourth, some verbs and verb phrases are directly followed a gerund. Example, Paul avoids using chemicals on the vegetables he grows. 5. Some verbs can be followed by a gerund or an infinitive without causing a change in meaning. Example, some people prefer getting up early in the morning, and some people prefer to get up early in the morning. And last, 6. Some verb can be following by a gerund or infinitive with a change in meaning. Example, he remembered sending the fax. The next material is the function of infinitive and example. The first is an object following the verb. Example, Jim always forgets to eat. Second, a subject at the beginning of a sentence. Example, to travel around the world requires a lot of time and money. Third, an adverb modifying a verb. Example, you promises to buy me a diamond ring. Fourth, an adjective modifying a noun. Tara has the ability to success. 5. Some verbs are directly followed by an infinitive. The example, do you want to call your family now? 6. Some verbs are directly followed by a noun or pronoun and then by an infinitive. Example, I convinced Catherine to become vegetarian. 7. Some verb can be followed by an infinitive or a gerund without causing a change in the meaning. Example, will you continue working after you give birth? And last, 8. Some verb can be followed by an infinitive or a gerund, but with a change in the meaning. Example, he stopped drinking coffee.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Septinia. Now I want to explain about active and passive voice simple present tense. The passive voice in the simple present tense is a grammatical construction that implies the or object of action rather than the door. For singular, uh, I, you, she, he, it plus past participle, and for the plural, they, we, you plus past participle. Uh, for the example, in the active voice, I made a sentence, I read a book every morning. For the passive voice is a book is read by me every morning. And another example, in the active voice, we bring the dictionary every English lesson. And the passive voice is the dictionary brought by us every English lesson. The action, for example, reading, repairing, writing, are expressed in the active voice, highlighting the object or recipient of the action.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rossa J.P. My student ID is 21030500053. So, in this video, I will explain about passive voice simple continuous tense. So, when changing the active simple continuous tense into passive sentences, there are things to note. Quoting the Cambridge Dictionary, we can make passive forms from verbs which do not have objects, namely intransitive verbs. Or we can make passive forms of verbs that don't have an object or are commonly called intransitive verbs. Besides that, we don't usually use the passive with some verbs that describe a state situation, namely state verbs. Or we don't usually use the passive voice with some verbs that describe a state or situation. So, the example of intransitive verbs are fly, arrive, fall, walk, and others. Meanwhile, state verbs, for example, like belong, believe, seem, think, and others. Also keep in mind that sometimes the person or subject performing the action can be omitted in the passive voice. The following are examples of active and passive present continuous tense sentences are: first, the active is Aras is drawing the flower in the school now. And when we want to make these active sentences become to passive sentences, we should change the position of NP1 and NP2. The NP1 is Aras and the NP2 is the flower. So we can keep in mind that for passive voice position, NP1 and NP2 must be exchanged, and it will become the flower is being drawn by Aras in the school now. That is the passive voice sentences for simple continuous tense. So the negative forms will be the flower isn't being drawn by Aras in the school now. And the interrogative forms will be is the flower being drawn by Aras in the school now? And I have the another example. The active sentences is Karina is planting mango trees in her yard now. And it is same like the first example that the position of NP1 and NP2 must be exchanged, and it will be the mango trees is being planted by Karina in her yard now. And the negative forms will be the mango trees isn't being planted by Karina in her yard now. And the interrogative forms will be is the mango trees being planted by Karina in her yard now? Alright, I think that's all for me for passive voice simple continuous tense. Thank you, and the next material will be explained by Jumailah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I can share active passive voice simple past tense. Past voice is an example something that happened to the object. Object is specifying sentence do not perform action but are acted by an action. Something past tense is also one on the tense that is asked to tell something. We have to make a sentence first. Example number one. They in Phoenix asked today party last night. From this sentence, we have to define subject, verb to, and object. Dari kata yang sebelumnya yang dibuat, they in Phoenix asked today party last night. They itu subject. Infinite is a verb to, and ask itu object. So from the sentence we can get the passive. We were in Phoenix by them today party last night. Okay. Sekali lagi. We were in Phoenix by them today party last night. Okay, example number 2. Sentence-nya I did not make you sad. Sekali lagi, I did not make you sad. From this sentence we have two subject, verb 1 and object. Dari kata sebelum yang sudah kita buat itu terdapat subject, verb 1 and object. I dari kata sebelumnya, I did not make you sad. I is itu subject, did itu verb 1, and not itu object. So from that sentence we can get passive because you were not made sad by me sad. Sekali lagi, you were not made sad by me sad. That's it all for me. To next the material and to the moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, the next material is explained by me. My name is Taufik. My student number is 2103050013. Alright. Active and passive voice with a simple present perfect tense. Alright. Active and passive. In active, the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action, while in a passive voice, the subject of the sentence receives the action. So let's see as present perfect tense. Present perfect tense is used to describe action or event that happen at an unspecific time before now or started in the past and continues up to the present. All right. Active and passive voice, present perfect tense. The main verb, passive present perfect tense is also a past participless verb 3 and begin with the auxiliary verb have or has. The difference is that the present perfect tense, passive present perfect tense, has an additional auxiliary verb, namely been. Have or has is adjust to the subject in the passive voice, object in the active voice. Fulfilling subject-verb agreement has is used for a singular subject. So now let's example. Okay, active voice. Active voice is subject plus have or has plus principle plus a direct object. Let's see the example number one. Number one is active voice and great slide have been abbreviated for the presentation. All right. In passive voice, subject, direct object plus have or has plus been plus past principle plus by agent. So the example is he has pre-grade a slide for the presentation. From active voice, a great slide have been a prepared for the presentation. We must to change the subject of the sentence received to action. So the sentence is he has a private great slide for the presentation. Alright, I think that's all for me and thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself. My name is Salsa Diva Nabila. On this opportunity, I would like to presentation about passive voice model. Well, without wasting the time, let me begin. Passive model is sentence form which a subject word accept the action, not perform the action. Modal verb such as can, could, and should. There are two basic patterns to use a passive modal, such as number one, modal plus be plus past participle, and then modal plus have been plus past participle. You can see example use modal 1. Example number 1, active voice should do, and then passive voice should be done, and then to be passive sentence, the work should be done on time. Number 2, active voice would sell, passive voice would be sold. Sentence, the ticket would be sold there if possible. Example use modal 2. Number 1, active voice could have done. To be passive voice could have been done. And in the sentence, it could have been done by John. Okay, number 2, active voice should have finished. Passive voice should have been finished. The sentence is it should have been finished yesterday. The sentence of a passive voice model. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.